Hello everybody, welcome back to my favorite series, to your favorite series. It is time for Comics You Should Be Reading, the series where I recommend to you a series of comics that you need to be reading, just in general, or in this case, to get you ready for the upcoming Hawkeye. I am very, very excited for Hawkeye. I know MCU Hawkeye, we're like, do we love him? Do we hate him? We don't know. Does Clint Barton deserve rights? It's unclear. Does Jeremy Renner even deserve rights? It is also unclear. But regardless, today I'm going to introduce you guys to some awesome Hawkeye comics that I think you guys need to pick up right before this series comes out in just 2 weeks. And some of them include actually the better Hawkeye, Kate Bishop. So let's just jump right into it. The first series that I'm going to recommend is, honest to God, one of the best comics ever written, period. And that is Matt Fraction and David Aja's Hawkeye run from 2012. This is sometimes known as Hawkeye, My Life is a Weapon, or Hawkeye, The Complete Barton and Bishop. It is the gold standard for not only what I think comics should be, but what Hawkeye comics should be. It is absolutely incredible. The series follows Clint Barton, the sometimes Avenger, and what he does when he's not being an Avenger. He has this apartment building in New York City that, after it's kind of being ransacked by some vaguely Russian gang members, Clint decides to buy out the entire building to save the people that live in it. And these are the repercussions, and the series follows the repercussions from that action. We meet some incredibly notable characters like Lucky the Pizza Dog, and we find Kate Bishop and what happens in the aftermath of the Young Avengers disassembling. And this comic, I simply cannot speak highly enough. So this is going to kind of be a less traditional, like, here's the plot, here's how it relates to the Hawkeye series, because honestly, with how much shifting around that they've done with MCU Hawkeye's character from what we've known in the comics, the Matt Fraction run is not really reminiscent of that Hawkeye. Those are kind of two different characters, but I think it is so well done that it is a must read. And like, here are some examples that are just kind of done through Fraction's writing and through David Aja's incredible artwork. There's this panel right here that I'm gonna implore some little media analysis, film analysis stuff right now. In this first panel here, we see the arrow being shot by Kate, we see Clint jumping, and then in the third panel, that is the continuation of the exact same arrow. It is an entire through line, and that's something that you can only do in comics media, and it just shows this incredible understanding of the medium that I think is not necessarily unique to this comic, but is just one of the strongest points in this comic, is this deep, commanding respect for the medium. Other notable moments of that are an entire issue that's told from the perspective of Lucky. So you only kind of get certain little dialogue tags. It's a lot of just dog, because it's words that Lucky understands, and it's really adorable and another great way of visual storytelling. What this series does best is the amazing visual storytelling. This series also features Clint being deaf, and some of the most remarkable issues of this series are issues that feature sign language, that feature David Aja's drawings of American Sign Language, because Clint communicates through that, and he communicates sometimes without his hearing aids. And so I don't think that's necessarily something that we're going to see brought up in the Hawkeye TV show, because as far as we know, MCU Hawkeye is not deaf and is not hard of hearing, which is honestly disappointing. I would love to have seen him be deaf or hard of hearing, but it's a really great thing that this comic uses, and it's the way it's able to use its visual storytelling. Also, outside of that, it has just some of the most beautiful artwork I have ever seen. I'm a real sucker for David Aja's artwork, and even for his covers that he's done, which the posters for Hawkeye that they've been releasing, it's the same picture.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture.
Heads up, as I was editing this, I discovered that Marvel apparently didn't even credit or pay David Aja for the fact that these were inspired by his drawings. So Marvel, do better. Like, it's clear that they're kind of trying to draw this visual parallel between there, and like, why wouldn't you? Because these are some of the most stunning panels I have ever seen. While most of the series art is done by David Aja, there is when the series breaks off and Kate travels to the West Coast, that artwork is done by Annie Liu, and if you've ever actually taken a close look at the channel art or like my profile picture, it's actually Annie Liu's Kate Bishop drawings. So there's a fun fact there, but that artwork is equally as stunning. They are both just incredible pieces of art, and honestly, like, I want some Hawkeye like panels just like framed. So here's some examples of that. Here's some examples of all of this. Another really high point of this series is I absolutely love the dynamic between Barton and Bishop. Like, the way that it's not it's a mentor pairing in the sense that, like, Clint has been doing this for longer than Kate has, but Kate has her shit together in ways that Clint doesn't. And Clint has problems that Kate can't solve either. And so they have this really great dynamic where a lot of people are like, Kate, why are you hanging out with Clint? And she's like, I don't know. He's there. He's my guy. And I really like their dynamic. And that's something I really hope for and I'm looking for in the Hawkeye series. So yeah, that's another high point. The second series that I want you guys to check out in regards to Hawkeye coming up is Hawkeye from 2016, and this is Kate Bishop's first solo run. And this is not Kate Bishop's first introduction to the comics. The first time we meet Kate Bishop is in the Young Avengers 2005, and the Young Avengers, there's just so much to go into that honestly, they deserve their own video. Between the Young Avengers 2005 and the Young Avengers 2013 run, there is so much to dig into with these characters, especially because the MCU is definitely building up their Young Avengers team, that they deserve their own video. And primarily for those comics, since Kate is not going to have her Young Avengers backstory in the TV show, if you were looking just for comics to read before you watch the show, I would steer clear of Young Avengers for the time being. But I would recommend that you check out Kelly Thompson's Hawkeye run, because this is a run that if you go straight from Matt Fraction's run into Kelly Thompson's, they really do complement each other. I think there's a little bit of some difference in how Fraction characterizes Kate versus how Thompson characterizes Kate, but that is to be expected. You just kind of have to get into that. But this follows Kate continuing her Private Eye stuff that she does in the end of the Hawkeye 2012 run, and really just trying to be the West Coast's Hawkeye. We meet a bunch of other characters that you then see in the West Coast Avengers from 2018, that we see in the Young Avengers from 2012. We meet a bunch of new romantic interests for Kate as she tries to figure out what the role is of being a Hawkeye on the West Coast, and she tries to fight Madame Mask once again. She's discovering identities behind her parents and all of that stuff, and a lot of that stuff that I think is going to kind of play into this Hawkeye series. Madame Mask is a longtime foe of both Kate and of Clint. During this Fraction run, Kate steals Madame Mask's identity for a brief period of time, and in her solo run, Mask gets her back by stealing Kate's identity. So I definitely think Madame Mask is going to be a character that we are going to see in this Hawkeye comics, as well as those Russian guys that I mentioned earlier on. I think in the Hawkeye series, we're going to see the Russians, we're going to see Madame Mask. So if you kind of want some basics for who these characters are, I'd check out those two comics, because not only are they really interesting characters, but they're also something that can help you fully enrich your experience of watching the Hawkeye show. So those are my two different recommendations for comics that you should be reading before watching Hawkeye. Let me know if there's anything that I have missed. Keep your eyes out for that Young Avengers video coming soon, and I will see you guys in the next one.